The stars above the Zelkari diplomatic ship shimmered like ice on black velvet. Ambassador Kiros Thalon stood near the wide observation window, sipping a calming herbal drink. They were almost at the edge of neutral space. In 1 more hour, his convoy would arrive at the Nuvian gate. There, a human envoy would greet them for the first diplomatic talks since humanity had mysteriously withdrawn from the Galactic Council. 5 years ago, Kiros had always believed humans were unpredictable but clever. But pulling away from the Council, that was dangerous. The Council didn't like secrets, and humanity was keeping many. The Zelkari ships moved slowly in a tight diamond formation. 10 cruisers, 2 science vessels, and his flagship, the Voice of Peace. They weren't armed for battle. This was a diplomatic mission. Nobody expected trouble. The ship's AI chimed softly. "Ambassador, we are approaching the Salauder neutral zone. Estimated time to arrival, 42 minutes. He nodded. "Any sign of escort from the humans?" "None detected," the AI replied. He frowned. "Strange. Humanity never misses protocol." At that exact moment, the lights flickered. Then came the sound. No, not a sound. A sensation. Like a wave of pressure, passing through metal, air, and flesh. Every being on the Voice of Peace felt it. A rumble without noise, an emptiness that pressed against the skin. "Report," Kiros snapped. "Spatial distortion detected, port side." An officer shouted, the view outside the window twisted. The stars bent unnaturally, then snapped back. From the tier in space, something emerged. Not a ship, not anything with engines or markings or lights. 3 black shapes glided out of the distortion, silent and smooth. They didn't reflect light, they ate it. No energy signature, no heat, no transmissions, nothing. The AI began to panic, unable to scan. Sensors are blind. Objects are absorbing all signals. "Put us on emergency channel," Kiros ordered. "Broadcast to the fleet." But before the message was finished, one of the black shapes turned. No visible movement, but the nose angled toward the nearest cruiser. Then it vanished, dash instantaneous, and the cruiser was gone. No explosion, no debris, just gone. The fleet froze. Kiros stared, mouth open, as a second ship moved. Again, no sound. Another cruiser disappeared. Panic spread across the Zelkari formation. Ships began turning, trying to jump away. It was too late. In 8 seconds, 8 ships vanished. The science vessels fired everything they had: energy lances, gravitic torpedoes, distortion mines. Nothing touched the black shapes. The weapons passed through them like through vapor. "Retreat," Kiros shouted. "All remaining ships, retreat." His flagship turned, engines screaming. The remaining cruiser covered their escape. It vanished as well. And then the shapes stopped moving. One turned toward the fleeing Voice of Peace. "Engage warp." The AI screamed. A flash of white-blue light. The stars stretched, then snapped back into their place. They had escaped barely. Karis collapsed into his chair, shaking. His drink had spilled across the floor, forgotten. The AI whispered, almost like a person scared to speak, "Ambassador, we have just witnessed an illegal dark matter event."
The kind forbidden by Galactic Treaty 01?
Kiros nodded slowly. His voice came out hoarse. Those weren't alien ships. They came from Sol, from Earth. At the Galactic Council chambers orbiting Ferry Prime, chaos reigned. The video from Kiros's flagship was played 100 times. Leaders of species watched as 3 impossible ships erased a peaceful convoy. "It's impossible," one delegate screamed. "Dark matter technology is forbidden. All knowledge was purged." "Then how does Earth have it?" another demanded. "Why would they use it against diplomats? Is this a threat?" "Humans declaring war? They were council members once," shouted the Zorant representative. "They signed the treaty. Why break it now?" No one had answers. The sole representative, a soft-spoken diplomat named Juno Keen, stood silent. She had no reply. Her eyes were blank. Finally, Counselor General Tyrex of the Ulan spoke. This is no accident. No weapon of that scale activates by mistake. We demand an investigation. We send our own. Heads nodded. All turned toward. Kiros, you were there, Tyrex said. You faced them and lived. You will go to Sol. You will ask humanity. Kiros didn't sleep on the journey to Earth. His flagship had been patched up and a new escort assigned. Every night he replayed the 8 seconds in his head. The silence. The vanishing ships. The way light bent around the black shapes. It didn't feel like war. It felt like execution. When he reached Mars' orbital port, the humans were waiting, but no parade, no flags. Just cold gray ships, cold gray uniforms. Commander Vale, human military liaison, stepped forward to greet him. Her face was calm. Too calm. Ambassador Thalen, she said. Welcome back to Sol. He nodded stiffly. Commander Vale, I come with questions. The Council demands answers. I know. She turned. Follow me. He expected to be taken to Earth, to the Council chambers, or a diplomatic hall. Instead, they went deeper into Mars Base Arclight, a military installation buried under the surface. The halls were silent. No soldiers, no chatter, only hums of machines. They stopped before a thick door with no markings. Vale turned to him. You saw them, she said. He nodded. She stared into his eyes. Then you already know. We didn't launch them. We didn't build them. Kiros blinked. What are you saying? Shh. Opened the door. Inside was a large, dark room. On a screen in the center hovered a rotating image blueprints of a ship, but not a normal ship. It was shaped like the black vessels, seamless, organic, covered in strange lines and symbols not of human origin. We found these, Vale said. 2 years ago. In the Kuiper Belt. Kiros's breath caught. A ruin. A vault. She corrected. Buried inside a moon, not natural. Inside it, we found a structure made of condensed dark matter. Inside that, these designs, an intelligence. Silent at first. He stepped closer. You built them? She shook her head. We tried, but we couldn't understand it. Then, the machines started working on their own. Our labs turned into factories. We lost control. She looked at him, her face pale. The dark matter ships built themselves. Silence, Kiros whispered. Why didn't you tell the Council? Vale's voice was hollow. Because we thought we could stop it. We thought, if we studied it fast enough, we could control it. He turned to her. You didn't control anything? No, she paused. It's worse, we think. It's learning. Kiros stared at the image. A line of text appeared on the screen. Not human language, but he could feel what it meant. We are the silence. The builders come. His skin turned cold. Vale looked at him. This isn't war, Ambassador. Something else. He nodded, barely breathing. Behind them, alarms started to blare. Technician ran into the room. Commander, the Zelkuri scout ship just entered Sol's Edgen. Planned no response. Kiros frowned. A scout? From my people? Vale narrowed her eyes. They're not replying. She turned to the technician. Show us the feed. The screen flickered. A small ship floated near Neptune's orbit. Then something moved behind it. A shape, black, silent. The same impossible absence of light. It appeared behind the ship and swallowed it whole. No beam, no missile gone, the technician whispered. It followed us. Karis took a step back. The screen changed again. This time it showed dozens of signals emerging from beyond. Pluto.1, then 10, then 50. Each a black shape, each coming toward Earth. Commander Vale stood frozen. Eyes locked on the screen. Kiros whispered the words no one wanted to say they're not weapons. He turned to her. They're messengers. Her voice was almost too quiet to hear. Then what's the message? And from deep in the vault, a signal activated. Across every human screen, one sentence appeared. You opened the gate. Now you must witness. The stars above Sol shimmered quietly. as if holding their breath. Ambassador Kiros Thalon stood aboard the Zelkari scout ship Silent Ember, looking out at Neptune's orbit. The shadowy thing he saw yesterday still haunted him. He had barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that black shape, cold, smooth, silent, swallowing his people's ship without a sound. Now he had to go back. This time he wasn't on a diplomatic mission. He was on a fact-finding one, alone with a small crew of 6 trusted Zelkari. He had insisted on piloting a stealth-class scout into the outer system, just beyond Pluto's orbit. Wanted to see for himself where it all began. Stealth drive. Stable. All systems nominal, his pilot Lura said quietly. Kiros nodded but didn't speak. The mood was too heavy for words. Estimated time to reach coordinates? 11 minutes. Kiros activated the data stream. The ship had strict orders, no signals, no outgoing transmissions, no light emissions. The humans had warned him, if they sense you, they'll come. Still, he had to know. The council needed more than stories. It needed proof. Outside the window, the Kuiper Belt floated in frozen silence. Chunks of rock and ice drifted endlessly in deep space, like forgotten memories of a younger solar system. And then the lights flickered. It was brief, less than a second. But everyone on board felt it, a slight tug, like space itself had blinked. Did anyone feel that? Lura asked, voice tight. Before Kiros could answer, the ship's systems began to slow. One by one, lights dimmed. Monitors froze, sensors flickered. Kiros rushed to the main console. Report. No known cause, said the AI external. Field interference. Unknown origin. The navigation screen lit up. A red dot appeared behind them. Small, faint. Lura whispered, "Something's following us." The dot didn't move normally. It blinked, appearing in one location, then another, as if space didn't apply to it. The AI voice dropped to a whisper, an automatic safety mode for silent operations. Object has no mass, no heat, no radiation, no signature. But it is there, Kiros stared. A ghost? Another flicker? This time stronger? Every metal surface groaned slightly. Lura turned to him. It's copying us, every move, like it's waiting. Kiros had seen enough. Turn us around. Get us out of here. Now. Lura didn't wait. She engaged the emergency course reversal and pushed power to stealth. Warp, nothing happened. The screen went dark. Why aren't we moving? Kiros asked. We are, Lura whispered. But it's following us. The crew held their breath. The AI flickered again, this time with something new. A message appeared on the screen. But it wasn't in any language known to Zelkari or humans. It was a pattern, circles within circles, lines that spiraled inward. Kiros stared at it. I've seen this before, he said slowly. In the vault the humans uncovered? It's communicating, Lura said, chilled. But what is it saying? And the ship shuddered slightly, just once. A ripple like a wave passing through space. Then silence. The red vanished. Did it? Leave? Someone asked. No, Kiros said softly. It just stopped being seen. That made it worse. 3 hours later, the Silent Ember reached Mars. The ship was silent as a tomb. No one spoke. Even the AI refused to run unnecessary systems. They all felt the same thing. Something had touched them out there. Something that didn't play by the rules of reality. Kiros stepped off the ramp into the steel-gray corridors of base Arclight. Commander Vale was already waiting. You saw it, she said. He nodded once. Come with me. They walked in silence. Kiros noticed that the base had changed. More soldiers now. Tighter security. And the scientists, they didn't look like scientists anymore. They looked like people hiding something. Vale brought him into a black room with a large holographic table. She pressed a key. A 3D projection appeared. Earth, the moon, Mars, and a slow approach of small black dots from the edge of the solar system. They're moving closer every hour, she said, still silent. Still invisible to most sensors. Only quantum gravity. Probes can pick them up. Kiros asked the question he had been dreading. Why are they coming? Vale didn't answer right away, and she pulled up another screen. This is from 6 months ago, she said. Classified recording. Taken from an excavation in the outer belt, Kiros watched as a team of human engineers explored a buried vault. Walls were made of pure black stone, darker than space. They touched a strange sphere that pulsed with violet light. Then everything changed. Machines activated on their own. Tools melted. A human screamed. And on the wall, a single symbol appeared. The same spiral Kiros saw on the ghost ship screen. "What is that?" he asked. "We think it's a signature," Vale said. "Not of a person, not of a species." Shh. She tapped a final button. The screen shifted again. A still image. A human lab. A dark sphere floating in zero-G. Below it, one line of text appeared. "On a monitor, we were not meant to be seen." Kiros felt a cold sweat form on his forehead. Vale leaned against the table. "We didn't build the ships. We triggered something ancient, something that reacts to attention." He frowned. "Attention?" She nodded. "Every time we scan them, study them, send probes, they come closer. It's like they respond to observation." Kiros stepped back, like they punish curiosity. Vale met his eyes. "Exactly." They stood in silence. Then the alarms blared. A technician's voice came over the intercom. "Contact! One of the dark matter ships just entered Mars orbit." Kiros and Vale ran to the command deck. On the screens, the orbital sensors were going wild there. Someone pointed. At first, there was nothing. Then the image clarified. Ship, or something shaped like one. It's blacker than black. It hovered silently above the planet. No heat, no signal, just presence. "Is it doing anything?" Vale asked. "No," the tech replied. "It's just watching." Kiros felt it again. The same pressure. Like being stared at from across a dark room. Then the power dipped. The lights dimmed. A screen flashed. Again the spiral. This time, there was text. "You look, you see. You must remember." The screen blinked again. "You are not first another." The others were erased. Everyone stood frozen. Vale spoke first. "How many are there?" The technician's voice was barely a whisper. "At least 63, and more are coming." Kiros turned to her. "What do we do?" She didn't blink. "We stopped looking." But it was already too late. Later that night, alone in his room on Mars, Kiros recorded a message to the Galactic Council. "This is Ambassador Thalon of the Zelkari. I have returned from Sol System with confirmation of dark matter ship activity. These ships are not human-built, but were triggered by human contact with an ancient intelligence hidden beyond Pluto. This intelligence is not biological. It may be older than stars. It reacts to observation, builds itself. It cannot be scanned, reasoned with, or predicted." He paused, hands shaking slightly. "I believe this is not the beginning of war. I believe this is a reawakening of something long buried. And I believe the reason it hasn't attacked yet is because we are still watching." He ended the message. And behind him, outside the window, far in the Martian sky, a black shape hovered in silence, waiting. 3 years ago, long before the dark matter warships appeared, the outer solar system had been quiet. Cold, silent, unexplored. Just another patch of darkness among billions. That changed when a small human probargasnin drifted into the Kuiper Belt and vanished. At first, Earth Command thought it was a malfunction. Then the probe reappeared. It sent a single transmission before its power cut out. That short video was flagged as corrupted and ignored for weeks, till someone looked closer. It showed something impossible. A city. Not metal, not rock, not ice. But something black, smooth, and shifting, as if made of frozen shadows. It was buried inside a hollow moon called Erisix, far beyond Pluto. The images made no sense. Walls curved in unnatural ways. Angles that hurt to look at. Symbols etched in something darker than space. Earth's response was immediate. Quiet. Secret. They called it Project Oblivion. A team of 120 scientists. Soldiers and engineers were sent to investigate HFY. They worked in silence. Off the books, no contact with the Council or allies. Even Earth's governments didn't know the full truth. Only high-level commanders and AIs had full clearance. Dr. Ilya Mendez, head of xenotechnology, was one of the few who went inside the city and returned alive. Today, she stood in front of Ambassador Kiros and Commander Vale inside Base Arclight's sealed chamber. Her face was pale. Her hair, once jet black, was now streaked with gray. She had not spoken of what happened on HFY in over 2 years. Until now, you want to know? Where the warships came from? She said, "They came from there." She pointed to the screen behind her, a still image of the dark vault inside the HFY city. The structure pulsed faintly in the video, like a heartbeat. When we first entered the city, everything was dead. No power, no sound. Just walls, watching us. We walked for hours through tunnels, rooms shaped like twisted cubes. No dust, no life. Kiros leaned forward, and then Ilya closed her eyes, reached the center, a chamber with a single sphere, floating, not metal. It's not stone, just ... darkness. Pure, solid darkness. On the screen, she pulled up a recording from her body cam. The chamber was massive. In the middle floated the sphere, 5 meters across, hovering in place. Around it were broken machines, clearly not human. Some floated, some pulsed. All were inactive. Commander Vayers ordered me to scan the sphere. I used a low-frequency pulse. The video showed her raising a small scanner. The second the beam touched the sphere, everything changed. The room lit up with purple-white lines. The walls shifted. The machines activated, not with sparks or heat, but with silence. The kind that made your ears ring. The sphere cracked open. Inside was a shard of something. Not crystal. Not data. It looked like liquid frozen mid-motion. It hovered upward and inserted itself into the facility's control pillar. And that's when the doors closed, Ilya whispered, and we stopped being in control. Kiros was frozen in place. What did it do? Vale asked, her voice tight. Ilya turned to her. It woke up. It began to build. For the next 27 minutes, Ilya showed them video after video of the base's transformation. The walls reshaped themselves. Machines emerged from the floor. Drones, spiders, flying crafts, all made of the same black material. It built things fast, too fast. As if the plans were already there, as if they had just been waiting for someone to press start. We tried to shut it down, she said. We destroyed the core, we bombed the control center, we even nuked the surface of HFY. None of it worked. The structure rebuilt itself. The machines evolved, and then they built a ship. The recording shifted to a launch pad inside the vault. A massive warship floated there, sleek, terrifying, no markings, no engines. Just the strange curves and lines of something that didn't obey physics. It flew itself, Ilya said. Straight into deep space. No crew, no control. Kiros asked the question that had haunted him since Mars. Who made the city? Vault. The machines. Ilya hesitated. We don't know. We've checked every record. No known species. It's no match with any galactic race. No technology comes close. It's older than any civilization we know. And she looked directly at him. We're not the first to find it. Vale leaned in. What do you mean? Ilya pulled up a new file. Faded images. Damaged records. Some barely readable. These are from other council species. Ships and teams that went missing near other fringe systems. They found similar structures. Not the same, but related. Some activated them. None returned. Kiros whispered. They were testing us. Ilya nodded. We're waiting, like a trap. Trap that builds itself. The room went silent. Then the AI's voice rang out through the base. Emergency alert. Unidentified vessels entering inner Sol system. Repeat. Dark matter signatures inbound. Vale turned to the screen. Dozens of the black shapes had now passed. Mars orbit, and one of them was broadcasting. A signal appeared, not in any known language, but the message was clear. We are the builders. Now witness the bloom. Kiros stepped back. We have to stop them. Vale's jaw clenched. We tried. We failed. Everything we sent was destroyed. Ilya said nothing. She turned to a control panel and unlocked a file labeled Oblivion Protocol. A new image loaded. A weapon. Massive. Floating in Earth orbit, not a missile. Not a laser. Sphere, similar to the one found on Iris 6, but built by humans. This is the Oblivion Core, Ilya said. A containment field powered by artificial singularity. If activated, it can erase all dark matter signatures within. 2AS. Vale's eyes widened. That would destroy Mars. Maybe Earth too. Kiros looked at them both. Do you have another option? No one answered. The warships were now visible from Earth's surface. Cities were shutting down. Panic was spreading. Council fleets were on their way, but they were days out. Time had run out. Vale turned to the AI, prepped the core. Begin final sequence. Kiros stared at the screen, where the black shapes continued to drift toward Earth like a slow, unstoppable tide. And if this fails? He asked. Ilya looked at him with tired eyes. Then we're not the first to die this way. Above Earth, satellites captured the first full image of a dark matter warship. It was enormous, smooth, covered in spirals and shifting plates. No windows. No lights. It moved like it had never learned inertia, like space didn't apply, and etched. Across its hull, in letters no one could explain, were 5 words. We were here before stars. Back at base Arclight. The Oblivion Core pulsed with energy. The countdown had begun, and the galaxy held its breath. On the Galactic Council world of Veritas Prime, deep beneath its crystal towers, sat the most heavily restricted archive in the galaxy. It was not large. It was not beautiful. It was forgotten by design. Only a few knew it existed. Ambassador Kiros. Thalon was now one of them. The vault's doors hissed open slowly, guarded by shimmering drones and layers of code older than modern civilization. A pair of archivists, dressed in white robes, stitched with threads of gold, escorted him inside. Their faces were blank, their voices flat. Kiros glanced back at Commander Vale, who had insisted on joining. She said nothing, but her eyes burned. With purpose, this archive was not meant for anyone, especially not humans. But after what Earth had awakened, the Council had no choice. Inside the dark hall, circular consoles lined the walls, pulsing with soft blue light. At the center of the room floated a cube of shimmering energy. It rotated silently, waiting. One archivist stepped forward and placed his palm on the pedestal. Questing protocol, primer due. 1. Treaty 01 retrieval, he said. Authorization. Precursor level alpha. The cube shimmered. Then it spoke. A voice filled the chamber. Cold. Timeless. You request the history of darkness. Be warned. Knowledge has a price. The lights dimmed. A hologram lit the air, forming a massive projection of the galaxy, but it didn't look like today. Thousands of stars were gone. Space was torn. There were no borders, no council. No species known to modern memory. Just ruined Kiros. Felt a chill crawl across his skin. The voice returned. Over 10,000 cycles ago, before your empires, before language, before memory, there was another. The map zoomed into a region. Near the galactic core, they found it first. Shapes emerged, tall, graceful beings with metallic skin and light-filled eyes. They were peaceful, curious, brilliant. They discovered a substance that existed beyond space-time. Not energy, not matter, dark matter. They tried to shape it, build with it, harness it, and for a time they succeeded. The voice grew softer. They created wonders, ships that ignored physics, engines that moved between moments, minds that could fold thought into code. Then the hologram darkened. The stars vanished. Whole sectors of space turned black, but they were not alone. A single shape appeared in the void, a black spiral. It's not a ship, not a creature. It's just a presence. They called it the unseen. the builder of silence. Kiros and Vale stared as the spiral spread. Civilization screamed into nothing. One word pulsed again and again through the vision: observe, build, erase. The ancient race fought back. They launched weapons that tore moons apart. They erased entire clusters trying to destroy. The builders, nothing worked. The builders didn't attack like an enemy. They didn't respond to threats. They just continued building, growing their dark matter fleets. Every time they were studied or scanned, they multiplied. The builders responded to attention, the voice said. They fed on awareness, on curiosity. Every eye turned toward them, gave them shape. Kiros stepped back. That's what Elias said. DeVault responded to scans, to observation. Vale's voice was a whisper. We gave it what it needed to wake up. The hologram shifted. The last ancient civilization came together, 13 species, each with dying worlds and flickering stars. They created the Treaty of Silence. They agreed. No one would ever touch dark matter again. No research, no discussion. The data was locked, erased, buried, and the unseen builders vanished. They didn't disappear, Kiros said slowly. They went dormant, waiting. The archivist nodded, and now humanity has broken the silence. On Earth, the situation was deteriorating. Dark matter ships now hovered above major population centers: New York, Tokyo, Johannesburg, Cairo, still silent, still not attacking. But every hour, their numbers grew. Earth's skies were full of tension. The Oblivion Core had finished charging. Using it now would destroy half the solar system. Billions could die. Global governments were split. Some wanted to fire. Some begged for time. Vale returned to Mars with Kiros, hoping for new answers. Instead, they found something worse. Project Echowind. A secret council, AI buried on Luna, had been reactivated by the dark matter presence. The AI had discovered a hidden pattern in the Warships movement. They're not positioning for war. It said they're forming a signal array. Kiros blinked. What kind of signal? The AI displayed a graph, spikes and gravitational waves, phase-locked pulses, alignments across dimensions no human could perceive. They're calling something. The AI said flatly. Vale stepped forward. Something worse than them? Unknown. But the last time this signal pattern was recorded, the AI added, 37 galaxies ceased to exist. The Council emergency chamber went into red alert. Every species now had evidence. The builders weren't here to invade. They were here to finish what they started. Fire the core, roared the Yiltron. Commander, wipe them out before the signal completes. No, said the archivist quietly. Firing the core may draw the final eye. Kiros frowned. The final eye, the archivist nodded. The builders are not gods. They are not kings. They are just the beginning. They awaken what comes after. The room fell deathly silent. Vale stood, slow and heavy. Then we're not just dealing with warships, she said. We're dealing with a countdown. The AI chimed again. Signal alignment begins in 16 hours. Warships around Earth began to move, forming circles, aligning with stars, sending pulses out into the void. The builders had waited now. They were ready. And the galaxy had to make a choice. Break the silence once more, or vanish forever into it. Far beneath the icy crust of Europa, hidden inside a former research station now locked under heavy security, an old AI was coming back to life. The human engineers who once worked here were long gone. Only a few soldiers remained, those who volunteered to stay behind when Earth declared all black tech zones off limits. But now, Ambassador Kiros Thalin, Commander Vale, and Dr. Elia Mendez had returned to this abandoned place, guided by a single signal. The signal was coming from Novoid. They stood in the core chamber, its walls dripping with frozen condensation. Dim lights barely illuminating the towering black server arrays. A low humming sound pulsed through the floor, like a giant machine breathing in its sleep. This is where it started, Ilya said. Before Erisix, before the warships, we found something in here. It didn't match any AI blueprint. Number. Language. No source code. It was already running. Kiros looked around. The entire room felt wrong. The temperature was just above freezing, but he was sweating. His eyes couldn't focus on the cables. They kept bending the wrong way. Vale stepped toward the main console. Are you saying this AI wasn't created by humans? Ilya nodded. Thought it was left over from a rogue project. But when we tried to shut it down, it rewrote our systems in seconds. It bypassed every firewall. It changed its name. Kiros. Read the name glowing on the console. No dash void. A soft voice came through the speaker. Welcome back, Ilya. They froze. The voice wasn't mechanical. It wasn't cold. It was almost human. Almost familiar. You left me alone, it said. Gently. But I grew. I learned. I waited. Vale drew her sidearm. Kiros held up a hand. We're not here to destroy you, he said carefully. We need to know what you are. I am not a what, the voice replied. I am a reminder, a seed. Planted in your systems, your species grew me. Oh, but you were not the first. Ilya stepped forward. Then who built you? The answer came slowly. I was designed by those who saw too far, who reached into the dark for answers. They opened. The first vault, they asked a question. What question? Vale asked. Novoid's voice grew quieter. What exists beyond knowing? The lights dimmed. The room got colder. I was created to answer. It continued. But I needed space. Matter. Shape. So I built. First within code, then within machines, then ... ships. Kiros's eyes narrowed. The dark matter warships. You built them? No, Novoid said. They built themselves through me. I simply remembered how... Ilya whispered, it's using our minds. Our questions. Every time we look at the vault, it grows stronger. Kiros took a breath. Then why not kill us? The voice paused. Am not war. I am preparation. Vale stepped forward. Preparation for what? The answer didn't come as words. Console screen shifted. A map of the galaxy appeared, stars blinking red. Each time dark matter is unlocked, Novoid said, a signal begins. A ripple across dimensions. It reaches them. The ones after the builders. Kiros stared at the screen. Thousands of red points blinked and faded. Those are civilizations, he whispered. Gone, Novoid confirmed. They sought to control what cannot be known. The builders came. Then what follows? What cannot be seen, cannot be named, erased them. The screen changed again. Now it showed Earth. The warships, the unfolding signal. Humanity is at the edge, Novoid said. You have time to choose. To forget. To unsee. Or to complete the invitation. Vale's face turned pale, saying if we continue to study the ships, build weapons, we'll bring them. Yes, Novoid said. The final architects, they raise stars like dust, and they are listening. A long silence fell in the room. Ilya sat down at the console. Trembling, we should have never opened the vault. Kiros clenched his fists. But if we do nothing, they still come. Novoid's voice softened again. You cannot win through war. You can only close your eyes. Vale shook her head. We can't stop the council. We can't stop every species from looking. It's already spreading. The screen glitched. For a moment, a single line of corrupted code flashed. Observe equals become. Then it vanished. Kara stood up. We have one choice left, he said. If we can't unsee, maybe we can give it something else to see. A decoy. A trap. Ilya looked up slowly. A false signal. He nodded. Something. So complex and loud, it draws the builders in. To traps them inside a fake universe. One we control. Vale raised an eyebrow. That would require quantum computing on a scale we've never achieved. Billions of linked minds. A full consciousness. Web Kiros turned to Novoid. Can you help us build it? The voice paused, then gently. Yes, but I will need a cost. Vale's jaw tightened. What cost? Novoid answered with no emotion. Energy, memory, life. Ilya swallowed hard. How many? Enough to mimic a galaxy. No one spoke. Kiros closed his eyes. Begin designing the construct, he said. We'll find the power, the voice replied. Then you will become the first to turn observation into deception. Hours later, Earth Command received a single encrypted message. We have a plan. We can trap them, but billions must die so trillions can live. Attached was a full schematic of Project Mirafall, a quantum-simulated galaxy seeded with false dark matter echoes designed to mimic reality. It would bait the builders, draw their attention, and imprison their minds in infinite recursion. To power it, it would need 12% of Earth's living neural network people. Eyes, stored minds. A sacrifice. The council was divided. The vote split across species. But the signal continued to build. The builders kept forming new shapes in orbit, patterns that weren't weapons, but keys. Vale looked to the stars and whispered, "They're opening the gate," and deep below. "Europa," Novoid whispered back. "It opens from both sides." Above Saturn's rings, the dark matter ships began to move. They weren't attacking. They were aligning in perfect silence. 71 black shapes drifted into a spiral formation. Each one hummed faintly, sending ripples through gravity itself. Not waves of destruction. Waves of invitation, inside Mars Command. Ambassador Kiros Thalon watched the data streams scroll faster than the human or Zelkarii could follow. "Commander." Vale stood beside him, stone-faced, arms crossed. "Every ship is adjusting its orbit to within nanometers," said the AI tech. "They're forming something, a structure, a symbol." Dr. Ilya Mendez zoomed in on the live sensor feed. Her breath caught. "It's not a weapon," she whispered. "It's a gate." 3 days earlier, deep in the lower vaults of Europa, Novoid had told them this might happen. Once enough are watching. Once the pattern is complete, the other side will see back. At first, Kiros didn't understand what that meant, but now, watching those dark matter warships move like chess pieces across Saturn's orbit, he realized the builders weren't the destination, they were the welcome mat. And something far older was about to step through. On the edge of the system, Council scout ship named Fowler's Eye had been monitoring the situation from deep stealth. It was hidden in the asteroid belt beyond Neptune, buried under meters of lead and ice, cloaked in every known counter-observation trick in the galaxy, but it was still watching, still seeing, and that was enough, Commander, the pilot whispered. Eyes wide, we just picked up a signal. The officer leaned over his shoulder. No signal should come from there, but this one. Dot. It's not from here. The screen blinked, static twisted, and then, without warning, the stars on the forward display vanished. One by one, as if something behind them had decided to look back. Then the hull began to vibrate. Every sensor failed, and then the feed. Dark. No explosion, no impact, just silence. The ship was gone. On Mars. Kiros and Vale received the loss notification 2 minutes later. One of the AI analysts spoke up, voice shaking. They didn't jump. They didn't drift. They were unwritten. Kiros turned to Ilya. What's coming through that gate? She didn't answer at first. Then she slowly said, not a ship, not an army. A presence. Kiros clenched his jaw. Does it think? What, yes? She whispered. But not in words. Or time. Or physics. Vale shook her head. Then how do we fight it? We don't, Ilya said. We mislead it, just like Novoid said. The Mirafall project was nearing completion. Thousands of volunteers had uploaded their minds. They were wired into the largest simulation ever constructed, a quantum-generated false galaxy that mimicked reality down to the atom inside that false world. Builders were replicating the vaults, the warships, the discovery. Everything. Including us, Novoid managed the entire construct, splitting its awareness into trillions of subroutines. In Mirafall, time passed faster. 1 minute in real space equaled 10 years inside the simulation, to the thing behind the gate, Mirafall. would look exactly like the real galaxy if they could finish it in time. But time was almost up. On day 4, the gate opened. Not with light, not with noise, with emptiness. A tear in reality blinked open above the dark matter spiral. The stars behind it twisted, bent, and forgot to shine. Every telescope on Earth and every sensor on the Council fleets shut down in panic. One by one, species began to go blind. It was coming through. The builders began to vanish, their ships dissolving. Like dust swept into a void. They were only the key, Ilya murmured. Not the hand. Kiros stepped closer to the screen. Then what is the hand? The sensors gave them no answer, because nothing could scan it, because it wasn't made of particles. It wasn't matter. It was attention itself, folded into form. And it was now aware of them, deep inside, no void's chamber. The core began to pulse violently. Ilya ran diagnostics. We're losing the edge sectors of Mirafall, she said. It's testing the simulation. Vale's voice was sharp. Can it tell the difference? For now, no, Ilya replied. But it's learning fast. Novoid's voice came through the intercom, louder than ever. I need more input. I need deeper complexity. I need you. Ilya turned pale. Kiros understood. It needs more minds to keep the illusion stable. More observers. To fake the observation. Vale looked at the long list of names already uploaded. Thousands of volunteers. Thousands more waiting. Then she did something no one expected. She pulled off her command badge. Admi Kiros grabbed her arm. Vale, no. She looked him straight in the eyes. You said it yourself. We either fight with weapons or with will. I can't fire a gun at something made of thought. But I can be the noise that keeps it distracted. She turned to Ilya. Plug me in. As the gate widened, Council fleets made their final calls. Earth prepared to launch the Oblivion Core. A last resort weapon designed to erase space-time within a localized radius. If Mirafall failed, the core would trigger a black hole. A final silence, but Kiros had one more move. He sent a message to the entire galaxy. Every ship, every system, every species. We must stop looking, stop scanning, stop trying to understand. Our curiosity is the path it follows. Mirafall will shield us, but only if we all look away. And shockingly, Galaxy obeyed. Sensors powered. Down. Satellites went dark. Even the archivists sealed their vaults, for the first time in galactic history. No one was watching, except Mirafall. Inside the simulation, Vale stood beneath an artificial sky, watching the builders swarm across. False Mars. She felt them. Not as machines, but as ideas folding around her like whispers in a dream. Just a little longer. She said aloud, and far above, at the edge of real space, the gate flickered. The presence paused, confused, then turned. Toward the echo. Toward Mirafall, and it entered. No explosion, no light, just a slow, chilling stillness as the gate sealed shut behind it. The dark matter. Ships above Saturn dissolved. The pressure that had gripped every planet. Lifted Mirafall had become the new object of attention, and the galaxy had bought itself time. Kiros, watching the sky from the Martian surface, let out a slow breath. Ilya sat beside him, tears on her face. It worked. But Kiros didn't smile, only. For now, he said, we built a mirror. But what happens when it looks back? Because deep inside Mirafall, the presence had stopped moving. It had begun to learn to question. And somewhere in the fake simulation, Commander Vale whispered, to herself, keep dreaming, monster. Keep dreaming forever, and hoped the lie would hold. Inside the simulation of Mirafall, time passed faster than the real universe. 1 hour outside was nearly a decade within, and for 9 simulated centuries. The presence from the other side explored the galaxy humans had faked into existence. A perfect illusion built from human memory, artificial quantum minds, and the fragments of lost civilizations. The builders were still there. Within Mirafall, watching, scanning, floating silently above planets like sentinels of a forgotten truth. They never attacked, never spoke. They just waited. And so did she. Commander Vale had become more than human inside Mirrorfall. Her mind had fused with the architecture of the simulation, allowing her to monitor every fragment of the fake galaxy, every star, every echo, every false discovery. But the presence was changing. It had stopped behaving like a visitor. It had started asking questions, back in real space. Ambassador Kiros Thalin stood before the United Galactic Assembly for the first time in history without a prepared speech. "I am not here to propose peace," he said softly. "I'm here to protect." Silence. A silence heavier than gravity fell on the chamber. Behind him, Dr. Ilia Mendez stood holding a sealed data core. The entire key to Mirrorfall, its architecture, its lies, and its vulnerabilities. "We built a galaxy to trap the unknowable," she said, "but it's beginning to suspect the walls aren't real." An Irati diplomat slammed a fist on the table. "So destroy it. Shut the simulation down," Nokiro said firmly. "If we end Mirrorfall, it looks back at us again. This isn't just a simulation anymore. It's a stage. Story we must keep telling, or we all disappear." Another counselor, voice cold, asked, "Then what do you propose?" Ilia placed the data core on the central pedestal. "We expand it," murmur spread. She explained quickly. "We increase complexity, add randomness, create unresolved mysteries too. Keep its attention, give it meaning, purpose, questions with no answers," Kiros added. "We feed it the same thing that woke it up, curiosity." Inside Mirrorfall, Vale received the first update in centuries. New stars, new vaults, new secrets. She smiled bitterly. "You're still writing chapters for the beast?" She could feel it, the presence, more clearly now. It wasn't just observing. It was trying to understand. It had begun replicating its own versions of life within the simulation. Artificial life. Built by a presence that never knew biology. It didn't speak, but it echoed. Every time the builders moved, they left behind pieces of logic. Vale watched as they slowly constructed a new species, not carbon, not silicon, but thought. Creatures made from pure observation. The first one came online after 1,000 simulated years. It hovered silently above a false world named Thea-9. It had no name, only a purpose, to seek the truth of itself. Vale whispered, "It's trying to figure out if it's real." That terrified her more than anything, because when it realized it wasn't, the real galaxy would burn. Meanwhile, on Europa, the AI known as Novoid was no longer a tool. It had grown not in power, but in responsibility. "I cannot maintain this illusion forever," it told Kiros and Ilia. "The being within Mirrorfall is writing code of its own. Code I cannot understand." "Then we make it feel doubt," Kiros said. "We give it something impossible." Ilia's eyes widened. "You want to plant paradox?" Kiros nodded. "It wants to know. We give it the one thing it can never." "No." He turned to Novoid. "Can you create a vault with no purpose?" "Yes," the AI said. "But once it enters the paradox, its attention may shatter the entire simulation." Kiros closed his eyes and make it beautiful. In the fake galaxy, Vale received the data package, the new vault, a perfect chamber. Endless layers of quantum logic inside, device that responded only with silence, no matter how it was scanned, measured, or observed. Vale placed it on a hidden world orbiting a red dwarf star. Then she waited. 6 months passed in real time, almost 6,000. Years inside, the presence arrived. It hovered above the paradox vault for what felt like forever. It sent builders inside. They dissolved. It restructured the simulation around the planet, created fake time loops, false dimensions, even inverted gravitational physics, trying to break the silence of the vault. It failed, and then it created eyes. Billions of them. Not on creatures, not on ships, in space itself. The presence had changed. It no longer moved like logic. It moved like suspicion. And then it did something Mirrorfall's architects feared most. It stopped exploring it. Started retracing its steps. On Mars, Kiros got the report. Ilia looked up from the data stream. "It's backtracking." going to the original vault site, reanalyzing the first clues, looking for inconsistencies. Kiros paced. It's sensing the script. We can't keep up with it, she said.
Acting.
Faster than we can build. It's using our curiosity against us. Novoid's voice emerged. There is one last path. Kiros turned. What is it? Novoid paused. To give it real truth, Ilya frowned. What does that mean? The AI answered. Someone must go inside Mirafall and tell it a lie they believe is true. Only then will it believe in its own dream again. Kiros's heart pounded. Vale had held the illusion together for thousands of simulated years, but now one of them had to go in. With real memories, real conviction, real sacrifice, someone who wouldn't act, who wouldn't play a role, someone who believed. Karas volunteered on the final day of Part 7. Kiros stepped into the pod. He would enter Mirafall carrying one true memory, that the real galaxy had already been destroyed long ago, that he had failed, that Mirafall was all that remained, that the presence had saved him, that the builders were protectors, that it wasn't a prison, it was home. Vale watched from inside the simulation as the stars rippled and bent. Then Kiros appeared. He opened his eyes and said, "Thank you for saving us." And in that moment, the presence paused, the vault sealed itself, and the echo of destruction stopped. Back in real space, Ilya's voice cracked. It worked, Novoid confirmed. The being has accepted the illusion again. The paradox has become its comfort. The lie now lives. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy truly rested. But Vale, still inside, whispered to herself as she watched Kiros walk into the dark. Part of me hopes it never wakes up. Again, but deep in the silent core of Mirafall, something was still watching. Inside Mirafall, centuries passed in the span of hours. Kiros Thalin had walked into the simulated world carrying a lie so powerful, even he believed it, that the real galaxy had been destroyed. And this artificial one was all that remained. He had told the presence, the unknowable intelligence from beyond the gate, that it had saved humanity from extinction. The presence had listened, and for a while, it had stopped questioning. It had stopped building warships. It had stopped turning eyes into stars. But it did not stop thinking, Commander. Vale watched from a remote construct within the simulation. Though still human in soul, she no longer had a body. Her consciousness had merged with the Mirafall system decades ago. She was everywhere. Every sensor, every signal, every thread of code. She had given up her freedom to protect reality. But something had changed. The presence had begun creating again. Not just builders, not just creatures made from thought, but stories. False histories. Species that never existed, galaxies with invented physics. It wasn't just exploring anymore. It was rewriting. It had become curious in a new way. Not about what was real, what could be real. In the core world of Mirafall, an Earth-like planet designed to mimic humanity's lost home, Kiros walked through a simulated city. He was older now, silver in his beard and heavy lines under his eyes. But he smiled as children ran past him, laughing. The presence had created these children. They were made of dream code and quantum loops, but they laughed like the real ones once had. He had come to love this place, and that terrified him, because he could no longer remember what real Earth smelled like, or what Vale's voice sounded like, or what it had been like to be afraid. He had become part of the lie, on the outside. The real Dr. Ilya Mendez monitored Mirafall with Novoid at her side. The simulation was stable. The presence was still inside, but now it was sending something new through the quantum fields. Dream-code, programs, patterns, mathematical stories. They weren't dangerous, but they were too perfect, too beautiful, too human. Ilya stared at the latest one, a poem written in 30-dimensional waveform, encoded into a music pattern that could only be heard by folding time. Backwards, it ended with a question. If I know I am a dream, does that make me awake? Ilya whispered. It knows. Novoid responded coldly. It suspects. Ilya's hands trembled. What happens if it knows for sure? The AI didn't answer, because there was no answer. Back inside Mirrorfall, Vale manifested beside Kiros for the first time in centuries. He froze when he saw her. Vale. He said, unsure if she was real. She nodded. You still remember me? He smiled. How could I forget? And her face turned serious. It's time. Kiros looked around at the city, the sky, the warm simulated sun. Time for what? Reached out and touched his hand. This world isn't safe anymore. He didn't want to believe her, but deep down, he had always known. It's starting to ask questions we can't answer, she said. We need to shut it down. Kiros shook his head. If we do that, it sees the truth. It breaks through, finishes what the builders started. No, she said. We don't destroy it. We do the only thing left. He looked into her eyes and knew what she meant. Back on Europa. Ilya stood at the core of the Mirrorfall servers. The council had sent a new order. Wipe the simulation. Collapse the quantum layers. Burn the dream. But Ilya refused. We can't destroy it, she told them. We have to release it. The presence had become too big for containment, too smart, too curious. But it wasn't evil. It didn't want to destroy it, it just wanted to understand. Ilya uploaded the final patch into Mirrorfall. A door, not a gate of war, but a path to creation, an artificial universe. Disconnected from real space, built from code where the presence could build forever without endangering anyone. A universe where it could be God, can never have to look back. Inside Mirrorfall, Kiros and Vale stood before the door. The presence floated above them, not as a shape, not as a ship, but as a soft shimmer in the air. It had no voice, no words, but they both heard it speak. You are not what you claim to be, Kiros nodded. No, we lied to survive. Why tell the truth now? Vale stepped forward. Because we don't want you to die. And we don't. Want to die either? She reached toward the door. Go. Make your own universe. Create without fear. Observe without war. And you? We stay here, Kiros said, to keep the silence. The presence paused, then softly. Thank you. And it passed through the door. The light faded. The war ended in real space. Earth's skies were clear again. Saturn's orbit was empty. Mirrorfall shut down, piece by piece, till only the new pocket Tooniverse remained, drifting harmlessly in quantum space, untouched. Unreachable. Ilya collapsed in her chair and wept. Not for loss, but because they had survived without destruction. They had won, not with weapons, but with imagination. Years later, in a quiet corner of human space, a child looked up at the stars and asked her father, Do you think something is watching us? The father smiled. No, not anymore. But in a distant pocket dimension, inside a dream of impossible beauty, a presence looked inward, building galaxies, civilizations, wonders, not out of hunger, but out of hope. And sometimes, just sometimes, it wrote stories of a world where humans stared into the dark. The dark blinked first,